Welcome, everybody, to the Get Authentic with Marques show. I'm your host, Marques Ogden, and we are so excited to be here today. But before we get started, I want to thank some of our fantastic sponsors. Head Start Equity, a multifamily real estate investment business in San Antonio, Texas. CannaAid, they are a hemp brand that is in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. Lux Front Range, one of my good friends, Robert Blaze, out of Denver, Colorado. They're in the real estate business. Power Plus Mouth Guard by Dr. Michael Hutchison out of the state of Michigan. And Stout Franchise Advisors, my good friend and client, Doug Stout. They help people get into the franchise business. Now, today on our show, we have my great friend and amazing client and former 15-year NFL quarterback, Gus Frerotte. Gus, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Hey, Marques. Thanks for having me. Excited to be on your show, your new show. And, we're going to have a lot of fun today, I think.
Gus, before we get started, the first question I ask every guest is, what does the word authentic/authenticity mean to them? Gus, what does the word authentic mean to you?
I think it just means you are who you are. I think people that are real, you notice them right away, and it's not put on, it's not staged. You are who you are. I try to be that. My family's the most important thing to me. So that's like the first thing I always talk about. And, sometimes you get involved in you a little bit, but for me, authenticity is about who you are, what you believe, and always putting it out there.
So let me ask you a question, Gus. Before we get into your amazing story, your background, your experiences, you're a great guy. You don't do too much social media. I know you're on Facebook. I know you're on LinkedIn. Why do you think so many people today are so mesmerized by being unauthentic when it comes to posting or social or, Instagram or TikTok? Why do you think so many people are just so unauthentic with their content and the way they live their lives?
Because it's easy, right? They're hiding behind a wall. They're not, if they were face to face with us when they were doing this stuff, would they say that to you? Would they be like that? Yes, I'm sure maybe some of them would. But there's a lot of people out there that are very unauthentic, and lying is very easy now. And it's almost like it's okay, which it isn't. Just think about it, Marques. If you would have lied to your dad growing up and he found out about it, what would he have done to you? Like those repercussions today are not the same. And that's what I feel like just social media has created. I think there's a lot of good to it, but I feel like that being unauthentic is it just lets you be that, because you don't really have to face the man or your dad.
Or I like to say you don't have to face the music. So
right.
This show, Gus, you are our number one episode. We shot a pilot episode last week, and you are our first guest. I'm so excited because you brought me to this amazing platform, opportunity. And it's all about being able to bring great people around you to help you succeed in that light. So, Gus, tell our audience a little bit about who is Gus Frerotte. Where are you from? How you got into football, high school, college, and then we'll chat about the NFL after that.
Yeah, I'm sure glad the show's like 3 hours long. So here we go. No, I grew up in a little town outside of Pittsburgh called Fort City, Pennsylvania. Just small town, 5,000 people. We didn't have any money. We were kind of like lower middle class but happy, right? I don't remember us ever not being happy. Always had food on the table. My dad worked hard. My mom worked hard. I grew up playing every sport. Just loved being outside, being athletic, running around. Tried football out. Didn't really like it at first. I was in 8th grade. I remember my dad bought me a brand new pair of cleats, and he goes, you're going to wear those cleats, right? Yeah, Dad, I'm going to wear them. First day of practice, break my foot. And I said, Dad, I can't play. My foot's killing me. He goes, well, I just bought you those cleats. Tie them tighter. You'll be fine. So I played the whole year on a broken foot, and my story is kind of crazy. I tell kids all the time, these kids try to go somewhere to get recognized or be somebody, hey, that kid got picked up from there. The schools went there. I went to a school, we had 18 kids on my football team. I broke my neck in 9th grade, didn't play quarterback till I was a junior in high school. And then never thought that was going to lead to. We ran the wing T, Marcus. I threw the ball 40 times in my whole high school career. Wow. And then I get scholarship offers to college because, yes, I was lucky. I was 6'4", 200 pounds. So that helped a lot. And I could throw. Right? I loved baseball. I played baseball a lot, but I knew football was the answer for me. I just don't know why, but I knew it. My cousin Mitch played for the Bills. I went and played at Seattle. So it was kind of, in our family's blood a little bit. And then went to the University of Tulsa on a scholarship. Coach David Rader, I loved him. Went there. First game I ever played in at Tulsa, I threw the ball 45 times. So, anything can happen. If you're good, if you work hard, they're going to find you. And with today's social media, Mark, I put tapes together, VHS tapes together of all of our games and had to figure out how to clip them together. That's what we sent to schools, not like today where it's all out on digital and easy to do, right? So that whole thing is crazy. So went through Tulsa, had a lot of fun, had a great career, ended up setting a bunch of records. And then obviously all those were broken now, but just had a lot of fun. And then after that, like you said, we want to get in the NFL stuff, but ended up getting drafted by the Washington in 1994 in the 7th round.
Now, I love to have a saying, and it's called, and my producers know this, let's get real, okay? Each time I'm talking to a guest on the show, I'm going to ask them, or for a certain segment, let's get real. Now, Gus, for you, let's get real. What was it that made you realize that you only threw the ball 40 times in high school, right? What made you believe and had that authentic drive to say, yes, I can potentially play football at the collegiate level? Because you just didn't say, oh, here I am, let's go. Something in you said, yep, I can do this. Yep, I can make it at college, wherever college that's going to be. What was it that made you feel and believe that you could go and play college football when you only threw the ball 40 times in your total high school career?
Well, I think there were so many factors into that. It was my dad who pushed me really hard. It was my high school coach, which was my wife's father, Harry, who pushed me really hard. I could throw it, but, I didn't know where it was going. But I think what pushes you is just the hard work. Everything I did, I loved playing sports. I loved being out there in the field. I didn't care how long I had to practice. I didn't care what I had to do. I was going to go out there and be the best person I could be, not try to be somebody else. Yes, I had idols. I had people I adored, like Terry Bradshaw growing up. You know what I mean? My dad used to listen to the Pirates every day on a transistor radio, so I used to follow them all the time. But for me, it was just like, what can I do to make myself better? And the only way you can get better is to be out there and do it. And so when I got to Tulsa, we had a coach, Coach Workman, who used to just take us in the gym. We didn't, Tulsa didn't have any money. We used to throw footballs against the wall, Marcus, and hit pieces of tape to learn how to be accurate, how to do your footwork, how to throw, things like that. And I watch these kids now, they're doing that when they're 10, so it was just hard work and a perseverance and a belief in yourself that you can get it done. Some people call it an ego. I never saw it that way, but obviously you have to have a little bit to get to that spot. And the other thing, I never saw it as work. It is work. And when you get to college, as you know, it's not easy to play a sport, go to class, do all those things. But what makes you authentic is to be able to do all of it and enjoy all of it.
Fantastic. Now, Gus, let's talk about your time in the National Football League. So drafted in the 7th round. Again, I'm from Washington, D.C. So when you were drafted by the Washington Redskins, now known as the Washington Commanders, I was on my freshman JV football team, and that was my first year playing football. Now, talk about your story getting drafted into the National Football League by the Washington Redskins and kind of share with our audience about your 15-year career.
Yeah, you talk about being authentic. I was drafted in the 7th round, like I said, but Heath Schuler was drafted in the 1st round that year by the same team. And so obviously a lot of people know this story, here's a 1st rounder, you're a 7th rounder. How are you going to make the team? There's 2 veterans that are ahead of you. What are you going to do? All I know is I just showed up every day and worked. I mean, I found the person I wanted to be with the rest of my life. So that was kind of off the table. You know, my wife and I have been married for 27 years. So that was a huge part of my life that I loved and I enjoyed. And then the football was the other side. And I didn't really care that, you know, these other people were way ahead of me. I never stressed over that. I just went out and did the work. And then good things happen, right? That if you keep your nose to the grindstone, good things happen. And it worked out to be my advantage is that Schuler held out which I don't blame him. He was holding out for more money as a first round pick. And because he did that in training camp, I took all his reps. They gave the other rookie all his reps. So because of that, I got to earn the trust of the other players. I got to show everybody what I could do, how I could throw it. Yeah, I wasn't polished by any means, but they saw something in me that let me make the team. And then through that year, I got to start a game against Indianapolis. And from that point on, I had my chance. I took advantage of it. And then it led to a 15-year NFL career.
Now, let's get real. Again, how did you build trust with the veteran players? Because again, right, you're going to have a lot of people listen to this podcast that are sports, business, you know, they're all about different aspects of life, right? So I really love digging into the type of stories that I feel will easily transition and or relate to people that don't play sports, right? So if you're listening to this interview right now, it's like how you build trust with your corporate partners. Gus, how did you build trust with the veteran players as an incoming rookie, as a 7th round draft pick, where people probably weren't expecting much out of you at all?
Yeah, you know, I felt like I was never real quiet. I wasn't shy, but I wasn't like loud and boisterous, right? I just was able to get along with people. I think that was just the talent. Like my favorite people on the team were always the linemen. That's probably why I like you so much, right? My favorite guys were the linemen. Like that's who I hung out with. That's what I went out with. That's who I did a lot of. It wasn't the receivers and everybody else. But I'll give you a quick story and how this kind of really worked for me. So we go through the off season, get drafted. You're kind of just going to work every day. I'm so excited to be there. I'm doing whatever they ask. And then we go to training camp, which was up in Carlisle, PA at the time. And it was the first or second practice, the first or second day. And it was after the second practice. And obviously you remember the Hogs, right? Sure. They're very famous group of linemen in the NFL, let alone in Washington. And so they go, "Hey, Rook, why don't you come with us and have a beer after practice?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right." So I go, and I know we got a meeting coming up at 7:00, right? We skip dinner. They're like, "Just skip dinner. Don't worry about it." And so we go have a few drinks. And I'm looking at my watch and it's like, "Oh, we got a meeting, guys. We got to go." And they're like, "Don't worry, just sit down." I mean, it's like 20 till, quarter till. I mean, we're only a couple minutes from the meeting room, right? And so they get up and they say, "Hey, Rook, pay the bill." And they all leave. And I'm like, "What? I don't have any money. I mean, I'm zero money." So I go to the bartender. I said, "Look, I'm going to get like you get some stipend when you're in training camp." I said, "I'll be back. I'll pay the bill." But he's like, "Don't worry about it. Those guys come in here all the time. Just come back and pay me when you can." So I'm late for the meeting, right? And I walk in and North Turner, I'm a rookie, right? I'm going to get cut. Like I'm nervous. I'm scared. And I walk in and North Turner goes, "Where the hell you been?" And I said, and I like stuttering, right? And the lineman stood up and they go, "He was with us, coach." And nobody said another word to me. Like it didn't matter what I did. Like those guys had my back. And, when you say you build trust, like you got to do things with people and show them who you are. Because if you're not authentic, like I could have just said, "No, I don't care. I'm not being late. Heck with you guys," right? They're the guys that I was going to be on the field with. They're the guys, whether I was going to play or not, I don't know. But those were the people that did it with me, not the coaches and I know you don't want to get cut, but to me, that was more important than, being on time for that meeting and leaving them there, right? And them all sneering at me. Now, there are different things in life that take you away, but for me, that was like one of the biggest things that ever happened to me, because like the coach saw, all the players saw that. They're like, oh, who's this guy? Right? Man, they got his back. And like, you didn't mess with the Hogs. And then one other story was, I can remember we were during the season, it was like the first couple of weeks. And as you know, when they do scout team, they draw these cards for the scout team. And the defenses go, throw the ball here, throw the ball there, and they circle it. It's like the perfect defense, and you're going to throw a pick and all the stuff. And I'm doing that, right? I just don't want to piss anybody off. And Darryl Green comes up to me and he pulls me aside. And this is Darryl Green. I mean, one of the top Redskins ever. And he goes, Gus, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean, Darryl? He goes, why are you throwing it there? You know, you're not supposed to throw the ball in those spots. I said, yeah, I know that, but that's where they're telling me to throw it. He goes, look, you throw it where you need to throw, because you're not making yourself any better, and you're definitely not making me any better by doing that. He said, I'll take the blame for it. You do what you got to do. So I started doing it. No defensive coach ever said, when I start tearing up the defense, you know, because I'm throwing it to the right spots, some guys are getting pissed, but Darryl's like, I got it. Don't worry about it. Right. So when you talk about building trust, you got to do it with the people that you're in the trenches with, and you got to do it with the people that you're going to be there with. And I think that's the most important thing.
Now, Gus, tell us about what you're doing now, like your transition away from the gridiron, what you're up to these days. I know you have a very successful podcast, Huddle Up with Gus. You hired me to help you with some speaking, to kind of help, talk about that. I also know you did some coaching with some of your sons in high school. So what was your transition like away from the gridiron? What did you do first? And what are you up to today now with your brand?
Well, it's not easy to transition out of the NFL, right? Because I did the same thing for 25 years, played a game that I loved, and then trying to leave it. They're cool with it because they're like, just next man up, right? But once you leave, it's hard to go back. You can't just walk back in the locker room. You can't go back in the training room. You can't do all those things that you've been doing for so long. So the transition is very hard. So naturally, my kids were at the age where they were playing sports. I went and coached them and then coached a high school team, and had to learn a lot about myself. I never really coached before. So you learn about who you are. Like, can I deal with hard situations? How do I deal with players screwing up and all these things? And I had to learn a lot about myself, because coaching your kids is not easy. And I remember at a point when we finally moved back to Pittsburgh and I was coaching my son, and I got really angry at him and yelled at him, and he started crying. And I said, I can't do this, right? I don't want to lose him as a friend, because I think he should be doing something better on the football field. So I said, dude, I'm not going to coach you. You're going to do what you want to do. I'm going to be fully supportive of you, but I don't want to go down this road. He was in ninth grade. And so that point on, I just kind of let him do what he wanted, try not to coach him. And it's a hard thing, because I had to learn that about myself, because all of a sudden I just saw my dad, right? That's how he used to be with me. And then, we moved back to Pittsburgh, and then I met a guy here. His name's Clarence Carlos. And I never did any kind of business before. So Clarence is like, come work with me. His son played at Central Catholic with my boys. And he created an app called the Roberto app that measures and monitors your brain performance. He said, dude, I'd love to have you on our team. So for 3 years, I worked with him, learned about business, learned how to create PowerPoints, do verticals, everything it takes to do business without going to school. So I was kind of thrown into the fire, learning it all. And, they kind of slowly worked up. They're still doing it, but I kind of moved on from that because we didn't really get a lot of traction. And then I kind of did some consulting and met some people. And then in 2019, my buddy and I just said, dude, let's just start a podcast. It was getting bigger and bigger. And we started a podcast called Huddle Up with Gus. My friend Dave Hager and I, and we just started interviewing people about how sports shaped their life. And we went up and down all these paths. The pandemic hit, we still did it. It was all virtual then. And I've been trying to consult with companies, do some different things. I've been doing some coaching with you, which has helped a lot. And then I've just recently been able to do some things that I've always wanted to do, is help the guys that I played with, because I feel like when I left, there's not enough out there for us. And so I'm working with the NFL alumni now to create a podcast network for former NFL players that they can come into our network. We can help them understand what to do. They can tell their stories the way they want to tell them, say whatever they want to say, but we're giving them opportunities that they wouldn't have before. As you know, Marcus, the technology, working with your computer, doing the production and editing, that stuff's not easy. So I got an opportunity to create something for fellas that I feel is going to be wonderful, and we can bring guys on. And so not only doing my podcast, but working on this network for all of our former players, just like you, that can come in and we can be a part of the brotherhood again together.
Let's get real. Let's talk about the whole brotherhood aspect, right? Because a lot of people can't relate to that. But I tell people, if you want to be successful, create your own network of empowerment. I was just telling one of my coaching clients about that this morning, because your network will help you to grow, get out in front of more people, and get to the place, what I call the target finish line and beyond, in order to get that going in that regard. For yourself, for people around you, you need to have and create that network of empowerment. So what is the podcast group allowing you to do to really help former players kind of, again, get that groove, kind of like, create that virtual locker room? Tell us about that, because I feel what you're trying to do by creating this network is what people that are listening to this episode should try to do to create their own network of empowerment.
Yeah, so if you think about the NFL alumni, we've all played the same game. We kind of came down the same paths. We've all done the same thing. And we have guys that are doing podcasts all over the place, right? I go to some network I don't really know. I kind of join it. I don't know. There's not a lot back and forth. And if I do go to a meeting, I don't know anybody. So it's really hard to speak up or say anything. But so when I look at this, I said, look, we all have a kind of the same opportunity. But if we're all doing the same thing together, we're going to be stronger. We're able to go after different sponsorship. We're able to have to go after different advertising together. And it is a virtual locker room of all of us being in and feeling safe, right? Not that, like, obviously not in safe, like if Marcus is walking down the street, somebody's got it, not that kind of safe, right? Like you're safe. But I'm saying, like, we have this intellectual property. We have this stuff that we go on to a lot of other shows. We go on to a lot of other podcasts and tell our stories, right? Why not take advantage of it, bring us all together and do it in one place where people can come see that content and pick who they want to watch, but they're all from the NFL. It's one of the biggest businesses and markets in the whole country. As you've seen, the best NBA game is behind the worst NFL game in ratings, right? So we were part of this incredible business, and then we were done and we're like, okay, how do we take advantage? Yeah, we have unions, we have organizations for us, but I felt like this is more built by former players for former players. So if you think of somebody out in there, like look at the Young Presidents Organization, something like that. If I'm a president or an owner of a company or a CEO, I got this group of people that I can go chat with, talk to, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? And that's really what I wanted to create, and be real with each other. Because I know that if you and I are sitting on a Teams call with 20 other guys that played, we would be chit-chatting and talking about everything, and we wouldn't be afraid to ask questions.
I love how you said it's that team atmosphere. It's that building of a unified vision with accountability and structure, which is really huge in that regard. So let's take another talk and let's talk about how people can actually build their own, not NFL network, of course, but their own brand, their own business. So I feel there's 4 parts to any successful business: marketing, sales, operations, finance. You got to get out there and market. You have to be able to take what you're out there marketing and close and get sales. You have to be able to fulfill the sales that you're ordering, or the people that are doing business with you. And you have to have funding behind you in order to be able to take care of your business and not go into what I call desperation mode. Which do you feel, Gus, is the most important aspect of getting a business started and why, and share a little bit of knowledge with our listeners about how they can improve in either marketing, sales, operations, or finance.
Well, I think the first thing is just taking the first step, right? Is my wife is going to be doing a podcast, right? And she's very nervous about it. What do I say about it? She knows what she wants to call it. She knows what she wants to talk about. And I said, honey, we just got to record a show. You just got to go and start talking. The rest will fall into place, right? Some people, I've talked to experts that say, no, you want everything done perfectly the first time. I'm like, well, how do you know that, right? How do you know that? You got to practice. You got to go figure it out. So for me, when you look at all those things, the marketing, right? You can get free marketing, Marcus, through all of the social media out there, right? You can go Facebook, LinkedIn, you can go Instagram. If you start your business, you can put it out there and talk about it and just get that organic following. And then as you create funding, right, that say somebody says, hey, I love what you're doing, can I talk to you? Then they may want to sponsor you, right? You say, hey, can you back me? Would you like to sponsor me? Would you like to put an ad on my LinkedIn or whatever? However that works, right? That you get some funding. And then that creates, that takes you to the next level. Then it may be, I want to be out bigger. I want to be in a magazine. I want to be on a radio show. I want to be on the TV, right? That you can keep creating. But with social media, I think the biggest thing is get your brand, get your logo, whatever that description of what you're doing is, right? If you want to be authentic, let's talk about it. And you're going to put this out there. And then it lets you put it out there because the people who see that want to be a part of it, they're going to follow it, right? No, what you do is not for everyone. There's no doubt. There's way too many people in this world, right? But if you get a small following, then it grows and it grows and it grows. So I think that social media leads to your sales, right? Because then you can contact people that way. And you know better than this is, and I'm terrible at this, and that's why I'm coaching with you, is that it's hard to go to somebody and say, hey, I have this show that has 5,000 views a month. Would you like to sponsor it? You know what I mean? Like, how do you sell yourself? So that is something that I think a coach like you can help people with, right? Because we don't all have that natural instinct. I could throw a football a mile. I can't come to Marcus and say, Marcus, I need you to sponsor $5,000. I'm going to put you on my show. Here's what we're going to talk about, blah, 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 right? And some people have that knack. I didn't have that knack. So that's something that I need to work on. And then as far as the operations is you just got to be consistent, right? No matter what it is, you got to get out of bed. You got to put your feet in the floor and you got to do it every day.
You know, audience, I'm going to answer Gus's rhetorical statement that he planned to be rhetorical. I'm actually going to take it where it's not rhetorical. So Gus, let's go ahead and give you a little quick coaching session that can help people that are listening. What you should do, Gus, when you're approaching somebody, hey, I have 5,000 views of this show, sponsor $5,000, please do that. That sounds, okay, help me out. Or how about this, Gus? The Huddle Up with Gus show is a sports business show that has had phenomenal people on our show, like Matthew McConaughey, Joe Namath, Michael Strahan, Emmitt Smith, just name a few. We are so fortunate to have so many different guests from all different paths and walks of life. Your product will be put in front of different genres, different people to help you maximize a nice ROI on the investment that you put to sponsor this show. We will hit your target audience. We will pre-qualify them and predispose them so when they come to you after hearing your ad on our show, it's going to make the sale that much easier for you. Would you like to now sponsor $5,000 for the Huddle Up with Gus show?
Where do I sign?
You're already signed, brother. You're fine. You're already signed, man. There's no beef there, man. You're all good to go. So, Gus, as we get ready to wrap up this amazing interview, what is one tip, one action step that Gus Frerotte would like to leave with the audience to help them grow and have success in that light?
Be authentic, right? Because if you do go into that person, Marcus, and you ask them what you just asked, and you're not authentic and you're not real, people can sniff it out. Be authentic, be yourself, right? I may not be able to say it the way you said it. You have to say it the way you can, the way you know. Use the language that you know. Don't try to be somebody else you're not. You've worked really hard to be who you are, right? I can never be you.
Right.
And I can never talk like you. You have this down to a science, but I can take those words, put it into the way I speak and the way I phrase things. So just be authentic, be yourself when you go in there. And that's what people love. They just want to know you, right? They want to know who you are, and they want to know that you're going to support them.
Ladies and gentlemen, after every amazing guest like Gus Frerotte, I'm going to give you what I call the authentic tip of the day. The authentic tip of the day that I got from Gus Frerotte was in his last segment. Be you in life. People say, Marques, are you a motivational speaker? Are you this or that? I say, no, I'm an inspirational keynote speaker, and my name is Marques Ogden. That's what I say, because there's only one me. There's only one Gus Frerotte, and there's only one you. That's it. That is the whole purpose of this show, to get people like Gus to open up about their lives, their stories, their tribulations. The Great Hog story, that was awesome. I've met Daryl Green, great guy, great story from Gus Frerotte. Again, that's the whole purpose of our podcast, of our brand, is to do what? Have real, authentic stories shared by real, authentic people. So again, that's the authentic tip of the day. Be you. There's only one you. Gus, how can people get in touch with you so if they want to hire you for a speaking job or have you come out make an appearance? How can people get in touch with Gus Frerotte?
Oh, they can follow me on social. It's at Gus Frerotte. They can find me or at Huddle Up with Gus on any social media. They go to my LinkedIn, check me out, Gus Frerotte on there. It's really easy. And then they can go to my website, huddleupwithgus.com. They can subscribe. They can send me an email on there. And if they want to work with me, I would love that. And, that's pretty much it. So I would love everybody. Or, even if they want to email me, they can go to huddleupwithgus@gmail.com and email me as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, get in touch with Gus. I've been blessed to coach him for about 6 months. Great friend, great guy, great family man, great football player, great coach, great speaker, has a lot of great things going on. One of the most authentic people that I have ever met. And that's exactly what the show was created to do. Help authentic people share their authentic stories to help others get ahead in their life. Gus, thank you for joining us. And again, everybody, listen to the Get Authentic with Marques show. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.